Girlfriendship, the podcast where we celebrate friendships, bonds, whether they're new or old. I'm Patricia Cage, your host, and my partner in crime, my Girlfriendship co-host, LaFern Cusack, unfortunately is not here for this episode, but that's okay. She's here in spirit. But I am so excited to do this episode. This has been one in the making. Today, I am joined by Sophie and Ansley, and their story is so unique. Their mothers grew up best friends, and this special bond has been passed down to them. They've grown up together, embodying the true spirit of friendship. So join us as we're going to delve into their journey, celebrating a bond that goes beyond just friendship. But it's also a legacy of connection and love. And this is just the kind of story that these Girlfriendship listeners out there need to hear today. So sit back, relax, and we're going to have a great time. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
Wow, what an introduction.
I feel wow.
Because you're the bomb. But I mean, I'm so fascinated. Like, tell me about your mothers. Tell me how they met.
Oh gosh.
I know. Gosh.
Well,
my mom.
Well, tell me the dynamic, because there's a dynamic of, you have like a combined of like totally 8 children, between the two families. Tell me that whole dynamic. Tell me your mothers, their names, who they are, what they're all about. Oh, go ahead, Sophie. Give me that face.
So my mom's name is Sue, and Sophie's mom's name is Lori. And they met when they first started having kids. So my family moved to where Sophie's family was in their early 30s or so. And yeah, they were literally having babies at the same time, and they were going through very similar life stages, and they just kind of instantly clicked. And so they do. They have a very special relationship. It is very much like ours. We joke all the time that Sophie is mini Lori and I'm mini Sue, and you just see very similar dynamics happening. So when the 4 of us are together,
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Oh my God. Well, I love your family dynamics, the combination where it's, I think, Sue, which is Ainsley's mother. I think she has 3 sons and 1 daughter. And Sophie, your mom, Lori, has 3 daughters and 1 son. That is such a crazy dynamic there to begin with.
Yeah, it really was also it shouldn't mix because it's we're all of the different, but then for some reason all the kids were so best friends, for sure.
Well, I mean, tell me, where were you guys living? Were you guys in the same neighborhood? How far did your families live from each other?
You go. This is your house, though.
We actually lived pretty far, I guess, in proximity wise. So we lived in the same town, but my family's weird and they lived 30 minutes away from that. So we lived in the woods, right?
Okay.
And Ansley's family, her dad's a doctor. So they lived pretty in town. Okay. So yeah, there was that. So it was this dynamic of either the Meltons were coming over to our house for the ultimate play day, because we live in the woods. So it's come play in the woods and swim in a creek and throw water balloons and eat worms or whatever. And then for Ansley's, we were over at her house a lot for oh, we need somewhere to go after school or before soccer practice and stuff like that.
Okay. So you said your mamas were both making babies at the same time. So tell me about your mother's pregnancies with you two. Was it at the same time? How many months apart? Tell me that whole dynamic.
Yeah. So Sophie and I are actually 8 months apart in age. So they, I guess, weren't.
They were on the ball there. They dropped the ball.
They weren't quite together. Yeah, actually, everybody, they were having kids at the same time. But one other thing that's really special, I think, about the 8 kids that I think is very fun is when you hit the end of a year, everybody is stair stepping. So you have at the end of this year, you'll have anywhere from 31 down to 24, which is Elowen with her younger sister. And so everybody's just 24, 25, 26, 27. It's this stair stepping thing. So I guess they were never, maybe they weren't ever.
They got jealous. They were oh, you're pregnant. I'm going to get pregnant.
My turn. So yeah, they were all, I guess it was just they would have them at different times. But yeah, that's actually very special. But Sophie and I are the only ones that are in the same grade. Nobody else is in the same grade of the 8 kids. So yeah, we're 8 months apart. But
what was that? Was I held back and you moved up? What do you mean?
No, I think I just started earlier. I don't know. Who's to say? I don't know.
Do you feel like you guys were destined to be best friends right from the womb?
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
So you mentioned your dad. Sophie, your dad's an attorney. Ansley, your dad's a doctor. So they were both busy in their careers. Do you think that was one of the reasons why your moms bonded together?
Yeah, I would say so. Cause yeah, I mean, because we grew up like in such a small town, Philip was like, yeah, one of the only people doing his thing. And then, yeah, my dad was one of the only doctors in town. So, like, they're best friends as well. Our dads are also best friends. So, I think, yeah, but them being, yeah, everybody's best friends. If you haven't gotten that vibe, everyone is best friends. But yeah, I think that with, yeah, just like busy life with 4 kids and stuff, our moms definitely were like, hey, our husbands aren't around. Let's hang out. Let's get together and do stuff. So I think that was definitely an element.
Our husbands aren't around.
Our husbands aren't around. Let's hang out.
So do you feel like, watching your mother's relationships was like watching 2 people navigate life together? I mean, tell me, what was it like watching your mother's relationship as friendships, evolve throughout the years from kids growing up, leaving the house and things like that? What did you guys witness?
I'll always, I just have all these memories of like, from like youngest of memories of like running around the house, like running in and out of the house. And then there's always like, and then we also had, I think Ansley mentioned it, but in like the pre-interview, there was like this Bible study group that bonded a lot of the adults together. And even like in these groups, it was just known, like you'd always see like Lori and Sue's heads together, just like always just like running their mouths, and then, yeah, even when they're alone, they're always like at the table, and it was just like constant talking. And I remember thinking like as a 13-year-old, like, how do they never run out of things to say? Like genuinely, like what do they talk about? That's crazy. And then it's so funny, like looking at us now, because yesterday I was like, I'm so sorry, like I need a chill day, like I need to do some work, like it's gonna be kind of boring. And she's like, no, we'll just talk. And I was like, okay. And then we just like talk for so long. So I think I guess all that to say, like the undercurrent of it is like they never like wanted to stop getting to know each other.
Do you ever remember, you know how girlfriends, they like to experiment with things like the way they dress or their hair color. Did your mothers go through phases where they were dyeing their hair the same color or trying on wearing a certain fashion or influencing one another? You should wear this. You should wear that. Changing with the times. Do you ever like recognize that?
To be honest, I don't think so.
I think it was funny how different they were. Like they both are very like in their ways. I don't know what the word would be, non-influenced by each other.
Yeah. And also like Lori is an art teacher. She's like an artist gal. And Sue is, when you think of stereotypical homeschool mom, that is Sue. So they were just very much like, this is who we are, take it or leave it. This is how we roll. And yeah, I don't think there's ever been like a moment like that. They just kind of roll how they roll.
Are there any like shared family traditions, or are there any like cute traditions that your mothers had between themselves that they created, that they've done over the years?
New Year's.
Yeah. One thing that our families do together is, one, we grew up going to the same camp together. So the camp that we went to, they had like every Labor Day weekend, they had family camp. And that is something I remember us going to probably from the time Sophie and I were like 4 or 5 years old. And we went forever. And then when we kind of aged out of camp, because we all were adults and it was like, maybe you shouldn't be here anymore. Then we just started going to Sophie's house every Labor Day weekend. And we just kind of use it as a time to come together, as we call our families the Steltons. That's like the name we've given ourselves. So that's something we do. And then we also always get together on New Year's. Any Steltons who are around will get together. As far as our moms go, we were talking about one thing that's very special with them is they have this metal ball that goes in this like little sack thing, and they put like little gifts and things in it. to give one another, whether it's just like a little note or whether it's like a little candy that the one knows the other loves, or if it's just, yeah, like a little special sentimental something. They would often, I would see it all the time. They would like put it somewhere in our homes so that the other person would find it after they left. And that's something that Sophie and I started doing around maybe like when we were 7. I remember Sophie gave me one of those for my birthday, and it was like this really big deal because it was kind of this passing the baton down of a friendship type of thing. And so that's been something that's special watching them, but it was also special for us growing up for sure.
And that's something that you plan to pass on to the next generation too, I take it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know who'll be, but
so who has the bowl now?
Funny story. It is definitely, we don't know where it is. It kind of disappeared when we left for college,
which is so sad. Mom,
it is so sad.
We should get another one.
We should get another one, actually. That'd be so fun.
But now what we do is we do this like, we do like a letter back and forth.
Oh, that's true.
So we will like send like literally like snail mail to each other.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like that. Can you guys reflect on some of the most valuable lessons, about friendship that you've learned from your mothers?
Oh, wow. Well, I think one of them we definitely already hit on, of just like, well, 2 actually that I take away is that it's okay to just completely, utterly, unapologetically be yourself, and be loved for that and be loved within that. And always like being like, we both watched our mothers change like in numerous ways, but not feeling like you have to change for this other person. They're going to love you where you're at. And so I think that was so cool to like we said, watch our mothers who are very like individual, unique people, stay individual and stay unique and still like be together with that. And then on top of that the curiosity of constantly, continually wanting to know another human. Like they never tire of like, and tell me more and tell me this and how do you feel about this, or how has your opinion changed? And I think that's one of the things that like really, I believe has kept like their friendship alive, keeps our friendship alive, is just that constant like desire to know.
I mean, even though your dads were, career men, did they let your mothers have the freedom of being themselves and having their true identity and being, their authentic selves?
Yeah, for sure.
See, your dad's a good man. They're good men.
He's a good man.
Go pat them on the back and let them know you're a good man.
I would add to what, like something that I think I've personally taken away is maybe also 2 more things is I remember like both of our moms constantly telling us that a true friendship is one that it doesn't matter how much time has passed, that it's going to still have the same quality and the same the same underlying current no matter what time period it is. And so I think that's something I've definitely taken away, especially like as an adult, when I don't see Sophie all the time anymore. So just like every time coming back to her, it's just like it kind of feels like this warm blanket that I'm putting on because I recognize the friendship and it's still just that same quality thing. And also I think one thing that I have learned from Lori and Sue is just the way that they support one another as well. Like not only like they're always talking together and they're very strong Christians. And so they were always like praying together and they were always just like, how can I help with your kids? And okay, and I'll go pick them up from school. And it was just always this really beautiful mutual giving, I think, that I also recognize and I still recognize in them. Like even now when like all of our siblings and stuff are having weddings and doing baby showers and stuff, Lori and Sue are always the ones that are like, I will host that bridal shower. I will host that baby shower. I will show up and make the food. And it's just like this really neat element of just giving and giving and giving because they really do care so much. And it's just a really beautiful thing to watch even now.
It just makes me so happy to hear this. But I want to know, how are Sue and Lori rolling today? What's their friendship like today?
They're still kicking,
They're
man.
going strong, baby.
Yeah, like
They don't stop.
They don't stop. Yeah, they're still. It's funny because I look at Lori and Sue from when I was 5, and I look at them now. I'm like, it's the same. Like they're just. Yeah, they still put the same habits into practice, and like they don't live in the same town anymore. My parents moved like a few years ago, but they still just make this effort to show up like in really big life situations as well. Like recently there's been some bigger family stuff going on within our families, and they will just go and sit with each other all day and those types of things. And it's incredible to watch them drop literally everything and be like, yep, I'll be there. Don't even worry. I will be there literally all day. And if we're going to sleep in this place, we're going to like, it's just, yeah, they're still incredible and inspiring in so many ways to me.
So now, why don't we take a nostalgic trip back where it all started, where you two set the foundation for a lifelong bond. So just look at those cherished childhood memories, that you hold dear. So we're going to dive in and discover the roots of your unbreakable connection. So again, let's kind of circle back. So your family kind of bonded through church and Bible studies, and would you say that this was the thread that kept your families intertwined in the early years?
So they were seeing each other weekly, and then they went to the same church. They're seeing each other there. So that was like the real like hangout time when they got to like talk.
Tell us how the world of soccer, the sport of soccer brought you guys together, and that really solidified your relationship in ways you never imagined. Tell us about that whole thing of you playing soccer and the mutual love for it and traveling. Tell me about all of that, how that really kind of like really took your friendship to another level.
Do you want me to answer?
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I think it was nice in that me and Ansley also were very different, right? So I went to like the public school that our town had, and then Ansley was always homeschooled. So I think it was a common thread of even like what we were for. Ansley's dad was the coach of like all our rec teams. So it was just like, let me go to practice with Dr. Russ. And then there's just like, there is the weird bond that happens through sports, right? When you're actually playing of like, let me pass the ball to Ansley, and like, Ansley's this amazing player, like amazing defender, especially. So like when this player's coming, like I trust that she's going to like do her best to like get the ball. And like, so there's like on the field and like the practice dynamic of like the thread that builds. But then also, yeah, it was just like, it was always there. So we did the rec, and then eventually we did the travel. And then we did indoor. And then even when I was playing at the school and Ansley was playing at her own league, we'd go to each other's games, or it was always still something that we could do of like, hey, we can go in the yard and like kick the ball around.
Yep.
So yeah, even I think that was like a cool, like common thread that we could always talk about it, where it'd come in and be like, oh my God, our defense sucks right now. So it was like cool that it like kept us together. And it was something we both like really understood.
Element in our friendship, especially in the early years, is because Sophie, like she said, would come to my house after school because it didn't make any sense to like go home and then come back for practice. So with soccer, that kind of also brought this element of Sophie comes to my house every single day, pretty much, to like do homework, eat dinner, and then go to practice and then go home. So at that point, Sophie and I are spending hours together, like every single day, or at least multiple times a week. Just because of like practice and the practicality of like where people needed to be when. So,
Ansley, in particular, did you really treasure those moments of interaction with other kids? Because you're homeschooled, so you're not with other kids all day. Did you really treasure those moments of playing sports and being around other kids that your age?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my family everybody was homeschooled, but my family was also integrally involved in like so many different things. So I didn't ever really feel like, oh, I'm homeschooled and I don't know how to interact with people, or like I don't get the chance, or like I don't get the chance to, because every single time we had Bible study, all of the kids were coming to my home. like every single time. So we were constantly around the whole Bible study group there. And then, soccer, we played soccer like fall, winter, spring, like we were always around kids then. And then church, oh my gosh, like, a million kids all the time. And then I also did like music and stuff. So I definitely treasured the moments like with Sophie, just because she was my best friend, but also, like being around kids was so normal. And like, we had so many neighborhood kids who were also homeschooled. So for us, it was like, woohoo, we'll just see people when we see people. But it was always a very, we were always on the go.
I think it is like I'm in LA right now for acting, right? Mm-hmm. So, and Ansley did musical performance and loves theater. Mm-hmm. So I think it was just like classic weird theater art kids stuff where watch me, where we would look up, we would get like these theater songs and we'd play them. And then we'd be like, okay, on this move, we're going to go like this. And this move, we're going to go like this. And then it didn't help because like our parents my dad especially has this complex where like he watches it and he's genuine. He's like, oh, that's really good. Like that was so good. And it wasn't good. But then it gave us this thing where we're like, oh my God, we're good. Like we can do this.
Yeah.
I mean, even though we're hearing a lot of the upsides, did you girls ever face challenges or disagreements between each other as kids?
I feel like just talked about this. What was that yesterday? Yeah. That was, it was weird to think like we never really fought. We just never like had this day where it's like, oh yeah, I'm fighting with Ansley right now. We for sure had disagreements where sometimes like, Ansley wouldn't do what I said while we were playing Playmobil. I don't want
to play with that doll.
Yeah. So that didn't fly. Or like, I'm trying to think of like, I don't know. We don't like fight.
Usually it comes from one of us has developed maybe a differing perspective on something or has just kind of changed views in something. But it's never something where the other goes, what in the world? It's more of a, oh, please explain that to me. Like, I'd love to know why you're thinking what you're thinking or how you came to that conclusion or things like that. So, and I think that's actually just probably something that maybe we've subliminally, like subconsciously committed to of like, this isn't going to be something that we allow to come between our day-to-day friendship because why would we? Like, why would we let things do that? But definitely have been, bumps in the road of like different life points and like different ways that we are functioning on a regular basis can definitely just bring things of going, oh, okay, this is like different from how I see this. So let's chat about it.
One moment in your life, Ansley, where during middle school where you moved. And tell me about how hard that was being away from Sophie.
Yeah. So when I was 11, my family moved to Alaska because my dad, we did like a ton of missions work growing up with the medical field. So we were always like bouncing all over the world doing stuff, but it usually was short term, like a week or a month or 2 months or something. So it was always kind of like, here's the start date, here's the end date. No big deal. But then, when I was 11, my dad was like, hey, we're going to move to Alaska for at least a year. And I went, oh, what? So that was the first time that, that I was going to have to say goodbye to the Steels long term. And it was, honestly, it was like world shattering to me because it didn't feel like I was saying goodbye to friends. It felt like I was saying goodbye to my siblings. It kind of felt like I was saying goodbye to like the other half of my family. Mm-hmm. And so I remember being extremely like devastated, but I also remember for me, I was extremely anxious about that because that was the first time that it was kind of this testing of like, what is our friendship going to look like when I don't see her every day for soccer practice and when I'm not seeing her every week at Bible study and church and, whatever, how is that going to stand? And I mean, middle school is a weird time in life anyway. So that was also just icing on top of the cake, but it was also a very sweet time because Sophie came to see me the first year that we were there, and it was a surprise. I had no idea she was coming. And it was like the most amazing week because I hadn't seen her at that point, probably for like 9 months. And it just went right back where it was. Kind of like what Lori and Sue had always said, like if it's a true friendship, it's just going to snap back into what it's always been. And I definitely found that to be true. And after 2 years, my family moved back to Virginia, and it was the same way. Like Sophie and I started high school at that point. It was like, yep, Sophie's my partner for soccer practice. And it was literally like nothing had changed in that sense, like at the core. And so that was a really cool thing for me. I don't know if you have, what would you like to say about that time in life?
How did you cope during that time? Sophie?
Not well. No, I think leading up to when I went to go visit her, I was so nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, like she's a cool Alaska girl now. I haven't seen her in so long. And it was like that, like kid feeling of like, what was that? 7th grade, 6th grade? I was just like, everything's different now. And like, nothing's the same. What are we going to do? And then, yeah, when I came to visit, it was just like nothing had changed. And I was like, oh, we're going to be okay. And I think in your like kid brain that like communicates of like distance doesn't affect like a person or like the real relationship for it.
How did you guys battle through that, through those years of high school?
Do you want to start on this one?
Also not well. I mean, high school's rough for everyone, okay?
Yes.
It's just like, who am I? Where do I fit in? Blah, blah, blah. It wasn't that rough. Okay. And yeah, I think it was like I need to fit in here. So like, it was like a weird, I think that was a growing period, right? Like, of experiencing what it's like of everything before that, especially Alaska. I think Alaska was actually like a good prepping stage because everything before that was a shared experience, right? So when you have like, oh, I know exactly what happened and where you're coming from and what you went through. In high school, it was so different because it was that unspoken thing of looking back on it now, like you don't know how to communicate that as a teenager, but it's like, you don't know anything that I'm actually like going through right now. Like you don't experience it and like Ansley's she's a very mature human being. So it was like, not even is she not experiencing, but she doesn't really like a lot of the high school, like politics, she doesn't care about anyway. So I think that was hard to like, yeah, talk about appreciating like a person where they're at and their uniqueness of like realizing like, oh, like we're on very different like fields right now and like learning how to adjust within that for sure.
Well, you said that Ansley was very mature. I think was that really great having her maturity to help you because you would have occasionally many meltdowns and she was there for you. Can you talk about that?
Just my mini meltdowns that I had.
You said
I did. I have meltdowns. It's fine. No, I think, yes, looking back on it, like sometimes it wasn't right. Sometimes it wasn't, you have to be, I think, in the place to really receive the wisdom sometimes. And what are you laughing at?
A place to receive the wisdom.
Right. Because I mean, sometimes she would be saying stuff though, that's like, why is this a big deal? Like, this is not a big deal. Like her boyfriend does not affect what you do and like what is going on. And I think sometimes, yeah, if you're not in the place to receive that, that would make me like angry and like, oh my gosh. But then sometimes you're like, you can look back and be like, oh, this really isn't like a big deal.
As you were going through your high school years, as you came to your senior year, did you have in the back of your mind, like, we're going to go away to college, we're going to go in different directions? How will our friendship survive that?
Yeah, I would say 100%. It was kind of this hanging in the balance moment of like, what does this look like? Because we'd done it before, with Alaska, but at that point, yeah, high school had looked so different from anything that we had gone through before. And so maybe this is jumping the gun, but plot twist, we went to university together. So spoilers. So when we went to university together, I think that actually was kind of this reunification process. Not that we had ever split, but it just kind of taken a little right back together because
it's that shared experience.
We went back to the shared experience of like every single thing. I mean, we weren't in the same major. We were in completely different classes, but like we lived on the same hall and we roomed together and our friend groups were the same. And like all of these different things, it kind of snapped us back because when you've been friends with somebody for 24, 25 years.
Much work.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the new friendship. Like,
right.
How the heck would I ever get to the point that I'm at with Sophie? Like, I can't. So I'm kind of like, oh, geez. So sometimes I think, like with new friendships, it is always something that I value and that is exciting to me. But at the same time, I definitely have my inner circle that are going to be my 24, 25 year friends because I mean, the history together and just the depth that Sophie knows me at and understands like the way I function, it just won't come in a lot of other places. And so new friendships are definitely something fun and they're great and I love them, but they're not, I think sometimes I have a hard time not comparing them maybe.
I think that's what I was going to say of like, I think it gives me a healthy dose of comparison because all friendships that I've made, especially after college or even in college, I hold to a standard of I know what it is to be
That's a good point.
To be known and to be loved well and to be supported. And I am so lucky to have experienced like good, true and pure friendship. So it's like the bar is here. And so I feel like in the plus side of it, like it's made me be able to attract because I've learned what it is to be, hopefully a good friend. But then also like I have no room for any type of like undercurrents in friendship and how that sometimes can happen with sadly women. I think I've just been blessed where I've been able to find very good friendships in other women because it's held to like such a high standard of like no BS, if you will.
No BS.
So ladies, let's look into the future. I mean, are there any goals or dreams that you have for your friendship?
That's a good question. I hadn't thought about that. Well, one thing that Sophie brought up several years ago, when we were kind of like, there have been a few points where it was like, we thought we were going to split ways and then we didn't. And then we thought we didn't. And then finally we actually did, move different places. And one thing Sophie said is, hey, I remember her looking at me very seriously and said, I want us to be friends forever. And I was like, yeah, me too, Sophie. And she's like, no, I'm serious. And I said, okay. So, and she threw out, hey, what if we tried to take a trip like once a year? So even if we didn't see each other, throughout the year, we know we have like this one time every year that we're going to see each other. And I was like, that's such a good idea because both of us love to travel, love to try new things. And so that's something we've tried to implement up to this point. And in the future, I would love to, continue to see us implement because it has been like such a cool experience and such sweet memories. That's like one thing that I think of that I'd love to see us do in the future.
And I think that's important of like, obviously there's always going to be the background, but continually developing the new shared experiences is what like continues connection, right? Is like experiencing life together. So I think, that's a cool way of like, here's something I am like actively putting my time into, my money into to make sure I take this trip. And we're going to make it happen, prioritize friendship. A goal I want for us to have, I don't know, just stay friends. just know Ansley, just continue to know Ansley better forever. I would love to like whatever the family unit that we develop one day, I would love to always just be involved in that. Like I said, yeah, whatever it looks like I want to like know Ansley's family, and like if there's kids around, to be able to be like, hi, Aunt Sophie's here, like I just envision that. Like I think that would just be the funnest thing.
How do your mothers feel about your friendship, that they kind of influenced the friendship that blossomed between you two? What have they ever given their opinions about how happy they are that you two, that their two daughters have become friends like they are? Have they ever explained that to you or mentioned anything about that?
Yeah, I think they love the friendships that they've passed on to their kids. Absolutely.
I wish the best for you two and your endeavors, and you, Sophie, and if you're pursuing acting or whatever, I hope to see that big smiling face on the screen. And Ansley, if you're making music, I'd love to hear that because I'm a big music buff. So, I'm all about that. But I just want to thank Sophie and Ansley for showing up today on Girlfriendship. And if you ever want to come back and give us updates on your Girlfriendship journey, we would love that. So I want to thanks for everyone tuning into Girlfriendship. And if you enjoyed the show and you join our fantastic Girlfriendship squad, just hit the subscribe button. And until next time, ladies, stay fabulous. Keep spreading those good vibes because it's always better with a little extra girl power.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
The Girlfriend Experience is brought to you by Inferno Productions, hosted by LaFern, Cusack, and Patricia Cage. Executive produced by Ulani Gray and Erica McCartan, and produced by Lauren Bond. Thanks for joining in the Ultimate Girlfriend Fest.